All right, peace and blessings, everybody. It's Tuesday, July the 24th, the year 2018. Three letters recently came to my attention. They've all been uploaded to Free Lazor's website. They come from Ken Masat, who's 78 years old, and Ken is a dear, dear friend to Free Lazor. When I think about how Ken Masat has tried to advocate for Free Lazor and all the work that he's done in the background, it nearly brings me to tears to think that not only is Free Lazor incarcerated, but he has these wonderful friends who are trying everything they can to bring attention to Free Lazor's case. Spent 35 years in prison on a self-defense shooting. The man broke down the door and threatened Free Lazor's life. We've also uploaded some new photos that have come to my attention. So if you go to Free Lazor's webpage, you'll see updates, and these letters were added to the bottom of the page. I'm just going to read them. This letter was written to Innocence Matters by Ken Masat on July the 20th. It's to Innocence Matters. Greetings. This is a desperate appeal for your support to reverse a most serious case of injustice. P.F. Lazor, also known as Free Lazor, is a California state inmate who has been languishing in prison after killing a home invader 34 years ago. He was sentenced 17 years for second-degree murder, and he has continually tried to prove his innocence against a stacked deck prosecution. He should have been out in 8 years, but has now been there for 34 years, with yet another denial of parole on November the 16th. The system repeatedly creates some sort of rule violation just prior to any parole hearing to justify denial. One of the recent violations was raising his voice to the librarian. As part of our Christian prison ministry, our family began corresponding with Lazor over 20 years ago, writing countless letters to the governors and parole boards, promising to take responsibility for him and job and residence, all to no avail. In response to a habeas corpus filed early 2017, a judge ordered the state to show cause for his disproportionate sentence. The state ignored the order for over a year, then finally responded, citing California Supreme Court's recent denial of a disproportionate case, not at all similar though it seems. The fact is, no California prisoner has ever served that length of time for a similar crime. I can provide a copy of the unbelievable affidavit a fellow inmate wrote in his behalf prior to the last parole hearing. The board then delayed the hearing for 5 months for an internal investigation. This only resulted in the board disregarding the affidavit because they didn't believe the guy was educated well enough to write it, disregarding the legal rules of any affidavit. To establish credibility, I am a retired Continental Airlines pilot who spent 6 years as a Navy fighter pilot with service in Vietnam. The case is ripe for a lawsuit against a corrupt cadre of prison insiders determined to grind this guy down until he no longer claims his innocence. The attachment below reveals the background of this amazing individual. His supporters have built a website of extensive evidence in his behalf. The site details an abundance of errors, beginning with ineffective counsel. Also, the site yearofjubilee.com has an excellent collection of information and pictures, along with his record as a Buddy Holly impersonating band. Appreciate your response. Thanks for considering Ken Masat. Can email attachments of evidence after we make contact. Countless character letters of support. That's true. Free Lazor does have countless character letters of support. This letter was written by Ken Masat to Scott Kernan, Director of Corrections, Sacramento, California. Dear Mr. Kernan, I saw your appearance on 60 Minutes last night and then awoke at 3 a.m. knowing I must write to you on a matter of great personal concern. You appear to have a character of mercy, so please hear me out. I have written to you in the past about your inmate, P.F. Free Lazor, without a response. I have seen and experienced a lot in my 78 years. I served as a Navy fighter pilot leading missions from a carrier over Vietnam and now am retired airline captain. I also traveled 46 states leading my family's bluegrass gospel band for 15 years and have had a prison ministry. However, I have never seen a case crying out for justice such as the one involving Mr. Lazor. He is in his 35th year for second-degree murder involving a case of self-defense, totally disproportionate. Lazor's case began with a terribly ineffective counsel. California's Castle Law was passed subsequent to his crime of killing a man who broke into his bedroom. He was sentenced 17 years and with good time should have been out in 8.5 years. His parole hearings have always been neutralized by some recent write-ups. A glaring example of just one write-up was for fighting in his cell. The enclosed 7-page affidavit by inmate Harwood is very unsettling record of what really happened and a frightening revelation of the sort of treatment Lazor has received while on your watch. Another complaint just prior to last year's hearing was for raising his voice to the librarian. Other inmates volunteered that it was just the opposite. I am also enclosing some other items for your review, 2 articles from a national publication and previous letters to your staff. I would appreciate you looking into this matter and responding in a positive, merciful way. In His Majesty's service, Ken Masat, Minister. Then Ken Masat also wrote a letter to the parole board. Dear Sir, our family and our church have been ministering to prisoners such as Mr. Lazor for over 25 years. I am a former Navy fighter pilot, having served off a carrier in Vietnam, and am now a retired airline pilot. I have seen and experienced many things, but nothing has been quite as incredulous as inmate Lazor's story and his abysmal mistreatment over 35 years and lack of consideration at his parole hearings. If only half of the evidence he has collected were half true, it would cry out for mercy and true justice. Mr. Lazor has sent me an impressive package of evidence over the years regarding his imprisonment. I put it all together in the form of a formal emergency affidavit and submitted it to Kevin Poole in Internal Affairs for his investigation prior to the November 18th rescheduled parole hearing. It is an amazing collection of mind-boggling material he has collected during his imprisonment. It makes one angry to see what this man has had to endure for a crime that lacked any element of first-degree evil intent. But it is hard to be angry when you find yourself on your knees praying with tears in your eyes for this man. While what is most disturbing at this point is the lack of consideration by the last parole board recently led by Commissioner Peck. In reading the transcript, I was struck by the condescending, critical, demeaning, impatient, and disrespectful attitude of Mr. Peck. He obviously had the board primed for denial as they were merely giving the appearance of a hearing. Lazor had collected an impressive list of fellow inmate affidavits supporting his claim for relief, all of which are an impressive testimony of his self-control in the face of persecution. More than once he has been set up for a beating, last of which was testified by inmate Sutton's affidavit. Mr. Peck referred to this bit of evidence in a demeaning way by claiming Sutton only had a 4th-grade education and could not have written that statement. Peck should have had enough legal knowledge to know that anyone else can transcribe an affidavit for you and then have you sign it for legal purposes. Since Mr. Sutton has been fearful for the threats of his own safety, another shocking 7-page affidavit was written by an inmate on 1/15/18, name withheld for safety. It appears that Lazor has been singled out to try and break his calm and controlled spirit, which has been almost like a challenge to the guards and the system. We have known and ministered to Mr. Lazor for over 20 years. We once again state that we are ready to accept responsibility for his behavior and care after his release. Mr. Lazor possesses great potential, which could be a contribution to society, which has too long been wasted, and redemption is now overdue. Please move strongly in his behalf to provide an early and considerate rehearing to ensure his long-delayed justice. Sincerely, in His Majesty's service, Ken Masat, Minister. Proverbs 3:27, withhold not mercy. I got to tell you, as I read Ken Masat's letters, my own heart like skips a beat. My wife said that I should stop saying that I have a broken heart because it's going to speak it into existence and I'm going to have heart problems. But I'm just going to trust the Lord that He's going to intervene in the affairs of Free Lazor. It does really make me incredibly sad when I think about Free Lazor still in prison and Ken Masat, who served our country honorably in the Vietnam War, working so hard and diligently to set him free. And all these prison wardens and these prison authorities are just continuing to ignore the situation. It just doesn't seem right. And I pray to God Almighty that He moves in the hearts of men to somehow work a miracle to set Free Laser free. Thank you for your time.